Hey everybody, welcome to a new YouTube tutorial. Gonna be going over a track called Punch, which is already released, and I have done a bit of a remix on it. This is Lulu, she's the new studio dog. This is the current situation outside the studio. We like our snow in Rossland, but I messed up my knee skiing, so I'm not enjoying any snow right now. Get to spend more time doing YouTube tutorials. Hi Lulu, are you a good girl? Yes. Okay, let's do this.
Nobody's harder than me, I'm a breaker of chains, I'm leaving it free. Trust what I said and not what you see. Nobody keep it in order like me. I'm really a beast and I'm out in the wild. The girl in my eye and I want it right now.
Let's do this. Right, so this is a track called Punch. Punch is a track that I made for Nike actually, and Nike never used it. Thanks Nike. So I just released it myself on Artlist, go check it out. But I recently remade it, or extended it, and got a guy called King Marino, who you might know from one of my tracks called Make My Move. Got him to rap a little verse on it. So that's being released in March, I hope. Getting pretty close there now. Yeah, I got some requests to do a tutorial for Punch. So here it is. Track starts off with a little silent. I should probably Google that after this. I think it's pretty much stock, but what I'm doing is I am modulating the filter cutoff, which does some cool things. So let me find, yeah, it's something called, I think it's the stock, and it's just lead super res. And I'm just modulating this cutoff knob over here. Pretty sharp sound. I'll show you what I did processing wise in a bit, but this is basically what it sounds like. Every time I hear that, it reminds me of a great song called Smack My Bitch Up. Smack My Bitch Up. Anyway, that's not the song that we're doing. That's the op. It goes throughout the whole thing, as you can see. It just modulates up and down to kind of make it filter out a little bit and then come back in. Sounds really nice with the kind of really low bass sounds. This sound is super bright, and the bass sounds, as you'll see that I have in there, are kind of low and grumbly. That sound has obviously some processing on it. I did put a bit of Camel Crusher on because I put Camel Crusher on everything, but I decided to keep this clean. It's got the glue on it, which is just catching those peaks a little bit. It's got some EQing here. I actually have stopped using the fruity parametric EQ now. I moved on to Pro Q2, great EQing plugin that I really like. But because this is an older project, I was still using it. Just bumped out a few harsh frequencies around there. Tried putting some vintage verb on, but that obviously didn't work. Actually, that was for the outro. So as it exited, I automated that knob up. Then I got Neutron on. Come on, Neutron. Doing some compression, bit of excitement. And then the limiter is on there because you'll notice as the filter cuts off, it gets louder. And I wanted to be pretty much the same volume throughout. So especially when it gets doing a bit of reduction there. And because it's such a harsh sound, I put Soothe on. Soothe is one of my favorite plugins, cleaning up of the sound. It's about 200 USD, I think, for Soothe. Great plugin. It does what it says, it soothes. I'm not exactly sure how the algorithm works, but it basically takes those frequencies and just dips them right. Next, we have a bass line. So the bassline is automated with this filter, and all that is doing is on one of the, so I use Trillion. Here you go, I'll show you. Loading.
3 hours later.
Alright, so it uses 2 Trillions. Trillion is made by the same people as Omnisphere. I use it a lot for live bass, but in this case I used a synth patch called Bang Street. Don't remember if I changed much on it, but it sounds like this. Yeah, love that sound. And I also put on, I think, a kind of a Reese sound. Let's see. Loading. Another Trillion patch called Ultra Wide and Uber Deep. So that's pretty wide. Nice and wide. I love those Reese sounds. And you'll see that I'm just modulating the filter cutoff there. So sometimes it cuts out altogether, and then boom, straight back in. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing with that. In terms of processing on that, we've got, yes, sausage fat now. Obviously, we got the filter here, which should really be at the bottom here, but I'm not going to change it right now. Microshift, which is just a widening tool. Stereo separation. We got the EQ, where I'm cutting out around 184, bumping it up a little bit, about 753. These are not exact. And then noticed that this sound was not, you couldn't hear it as well on things like phones, so put Fab Filter on here, just basically a little bit of saturation in the low end from 125 down, and then in the upper end just cranked it up with the warm tape setting. Make it sound a little better on small speakers, or a little more present on small speakers. And then we got the glue, just to make it sound nice and sausagey, keep the dynamics in check. And then this, I don't remember why it's there, but it might be for volume automation. Righto, moving on. There's not actually a lot to the song. It's basically that the bass and that op that's going on, and then the drums. So the drums look like this. First we got the kick. Boom. The kick is, a kick sample. It's got a bit of distortion on it. It has a transient master, because I wanted it to be a bit shorter. There are probably better ways of doing that, but that's how I did it back in the day. A very cool plugin called Bittersweet. It's basically one knob and these 3 settings for fast, medium, slow. And as you turn it this way, it actually brightens it up a little. And if you turn it towards the sweet, it just it makes it less. I think the mids are cut out a little more. It just changes the tonality of the kick to make it less high frequencies. Yeah, so a tiny bit of bittersweet, and then the glue. What do we got? Threshold minus 18.8 dB with 6 dB makeup gain. Just letting the transient through there, so 0.3 milliseconds, and a medium release setting, ratio of 4, kind of in the middle there. And then a high pass on, so in the glue it doesn't compress below 140 as much, or at all, I think. Next, we got the EQ, funny old EQ, 280, taking it hella down, minus 12 dB. And also probably a clicky sound that I don't like. Try it with and without, just to see what it sounds like. Yeah, it's just got a low kind of ooh sound and a higher sound. Literally shaking my studio with that. Yeah, and then we got the snare. Boom! Boom! Snare-wise, tiny bit of EQing, obviously cutting out the low end, which I don't think it has much of. And then the glue, power punch. Letting actually quite a lot of the transient through. And a quick release, ratio about 4. Makes that snare slap. Yes, with and without. So the kick and the snare are being routed to this drum bus that I have decapitator on for a bit of crunch. The whole thing has got a filter on it. You'll see a little later when it goes to kind of the down parts, it gets filtered out. And a bit of the glue, I don't know why. Tiny bit of compression. I don't know why they've done that, but I'm not going to change it. I mustn't forget, somewhere down here, because this isn't a very clean working session, somewhere down here are these cool little... I'm just going to move this down, because I can, and I need to free that up. Yeah, so when the drums get to the filter bit, which sounds super cool. Yeah. Also, I should mention, if I can find my mixer again, the snare goes to a snare reverb, so there's a little snare reverb bus, so I can control the tone of the reverb, but it doesn't look like I've controlled it that much, because I'm only cutting below 79. Ooh. And good old vintage verb, short, decay, quite a pre-delay. Yeah, so it's just adding that kind of sound. Yeah, all of the highs are in there. This is with, without. Yeah, it's super quick without the verb. With the verb, it's got that splashy kind of reverb. Makes it sound a bit bigger. Nice. There is this super cool somewhere in here. Alright, found it. So there's a super cool little, what I call quick kick. It's just for quick succession. I gotta find a better way of saying that. 4 kick beats in quick succession. Sounds like this. Back to the track. So there's another cool thing that I forgot about. It's called Cranium. It is an Omnisphere patch, I believe. And sounds super cool. Cranium. I don't know how they made this sound. The track is called, the preset is called Cranium Drill Bit, and it seems to do some kind of pitch modulation, but I don't know how it does it. Anyway, it sounds super sick in this track. Put some Camel Crusher on it, a bit of distortion, fruity limiter. I think the reason I did that was because it was lower in the beginning, so I just wanted to keep the volume the same throughout. Took the attack down using Transient Master. This makes it a bit more softer, a little less plucky and more smoother. This makes it, so this just helps Not a huge difference. Not much EQ aside from cutting out all that nasty lower end that you definitely want to keep clean for your kick and your sub. So this is basically the beat. I'll play it for you. So we've got this train sound, it's called. It's a sample, probably from Splice. I just wanted to kind of have that moving forward kind of kind of sound. And so it's basically hi-hats, or maybe a shaker, either way. Got a channel panning automation on it. I think I'm just panning, yeah, the actual switch. You can do it in a variety of different ways. That's how I did it. Just moving quick right to left, make it a little bit more dynamic. And then we've got something I called train mod. I don't know why. Similar kind of thing, but just in the lower end. Like that sound. Yeah, it was kind of just like a train sound moving forward. Because these are both pretty much, yeah, I felt like it needed a hi-hat. So the hi-hat comes in and out. Sounds like that. Got that nice crispy high end. And then we got a few things like some crashes. And then actually in the drop, keeping the crash on. You probably won't even hear it. Here, I'll play it for you. There we go. Yeah, so it just fills up the kind of 10K plus spectrum. Makes it sound nicer. Oh, here we go. Got these little swoosh sounds into some of the snare hits, like this. This is basically just a snare sample. Ooh, it has been reversed. And yeah, so that is all goes to the snare, like capitalizing my snare because it's so big. And yeah, that goes through, the swoosh goes through to the reverb bus as well. So it doesn't end abruptly. It's got some tail to it. So those are kind of happening intermittently, usually when there's no extra kick drum around. So if there's a kick drum hit there, they're kind of there to fill those spaces where there's no extra kick hits. And then we got the sound called Chef. I don't know why it's called Chef. Why is it called Chef? Oh, I guess it's made by Chef. Chef was cooking this up in the kitchen and it happened to fit in really well. I don't remember how I found it, but that's what it sounds like. Just a bit of EQ. So that comes in generally when the filter on the bass line is down. Not always. I'll let you listen to it.
That's a vow, when I gotta get it, the future is mine. You trying to compete is wasted time. Came from the bottom, but now I'm in front of the line. In front of the haters, I turn into motivators. I don't owe them no favors, and any beef will get catered.
Yeah, so that comes and goes throughout the song, just to add a little bit of interest, kind of a haunting sound, like it. So that's an extended version, like I said, of the track Punch. You might have heard I spoke to my friend. He's not actually my friend, but I got him to do a rap on this, and he did that. So I'll play you a tiny bit of it. Releasing in March.
Nobody's harder than me, I'm a breaker of chains, I'm living it free. Trust what I said and not what you see. Nobody keep it in order like me. I'm really a beast and I'm out in the wild. The well in my eye and I want it right now. That's a
Vocal processing wise, little Elder Boy's on there. I wanted to just deepen his voice a little bit. Here's what it sounds like without Little Elder Boy.
Nobody's harder than me, I'm a breaker of chains, I'm living it free.
And with.
Nobody's harder than me, I'm a breaker of chains, I'm living.
Subtle, isn't it? That's because I've got the dry roundabout there. So I played with this knob
Nobody's harder than me, I'm a breaker of chains, I'm living it free. Trust what I said and not what you see. Nobody keep it in order like me.
Yeah, it just adds some kind of bottom end. I didn't want to make it too prominent or he sounds weird, but that's what I went with. Formant -2.9. Psyche, which I like for coloring sound, bumped around. I think I actually first did this kind of a filter sweep around with Pro Q2 just to see where his voice needed bumping a little bit, just to add a bit of bottom end to it. So 0.7, bumping at about 6, got the drive up a little bit to give it a bit of distortion, and then a little bit of, actually quite a lot of brightness on the top end, just to add a bit of sparkle. We got the glue. I love the glue. And then just a brick wall limiter for those peaks. I've got a small delay just to make it sound a little bit more wide. Then we got FabFilter Satin old tape slammed up. Notch out some nasty frequencies. You know, I used to use a lot of presets back in the day, and I'm imagining this is some kind of preset to make it sound more in your face. I like neutral. Okay, so that's basically the vocals. Really looking forward to releasing this track. Like I said, in March. I think it's going to be really good. I'm hoping that you guys will really like this one. I kind of enjoyed making it. Until the next one, thank you for watching. Please hit me up on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, whatever you use. Trying to build those channels up. Thanks for watching this YouTube tutorial. Looking forward to making a bunch more of these and also releasing some sick new music soon. Watch out for that. Thanks for watching.